Okay, this one just buried the needle on the irony meter, and I mean really buried. Because it covers how a social justice warrior of the ilk of drunk sex is rape sex. Seriously, some of these feminists think that if you're too drunk to drive, which, let's be honest, is not very drunk at all, then you're too drunk to give consent.
So now I want to talk about some situations where consent cannot happen, even with a verbal yes. Sometimes people get drunk. You may have learned this about the world. When it comes to sex, a little bit of alcohol isn't a big deal. But if they're too drunk to drive, they're too drunk to give consent, period.
And given that sex without consent is rape, I can honestly say that rape by these feminist definitions is typically more enjoyable than regular sex. And I say that as a multiple rape survivor myself.
Just because someone doesn't say no doesn't mean they're saying yes. They might feel uncomfortable or guilty or not know how to say it. So that is why it's really important to hear that verbal out loud yes.
Bizarrely, feminists think that rather than having fond memories of all of this, I should just have these women arrested as serious sex offenders and have them expelled or maybe put in jail.
Having sex with someone who's intoxicated or in this compromised state is against the law. You can be expelled and you can go to jail for it.
And it's all predicated on the basis, the feminist logic, that women cannot be responsible adults capable of deciding how much they have to drink.
Would you like a refill?
No, thank you. Now, see how easy that was? Here's another little tip. If you find it hard to say no to the refill, you can just leave the glass full. Don't take another sip. That's my friendly little piece of advice to those of you without a backbone or any sense of personal responsibility.
Or taking responsibility of what they did while they were drunk and later regretted. Yeah, and just so we're clear about the level of rape accusations we're talking about here.
You don't call the police, you don't file a report, you don't preserve evidence, corral witnesses, access security cameras, or prevent the rapist from skipping town. Not only do you let the rapist go scot-free because reasons, but you allow the rapist to continue at the convention making rape buys at the next drunk young thing, and then, what the hell, why not proceed with business as usual, invite the rapist to later conventions and speaking gigs so you can all hang out together, you, your girlfriend, and the guy who raped her.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
This I posted on the JREF forum. I was trying to wrap my brain around this photo then, and remember, assuming all claims of rape are true, I'm trying to wrap my brain around it now. Presuming everything Allison Smith and Jeff Wagg say is true, look at this photo taken at Dragon Con a mere 2 months after the rape. In it, you have the smiling rapist with his hands on the smiling rape victim, and as ultimate third-wheel donut tire, you have the rape victim's boyfriend who knows she was raped by the guy, smiling like a fucking moron.
Yeah, the feminist guy who was throwing around these rape accusations like candy, would you believe it, is now exactly the same guy who is begging for sex on his blog, preferably from prostitutes over, you guessed it, alcohol, wine or whiskey or similar. It's reality-bending hypocrisy. You remember Richard Carrier of Feminist-Friendly Atheism Plus? Actually, let me remind you exactly what he said about it. Now, this was Carrier speaking about himself. I am fully on board. I will supply any intellectual artillery they need to expand the cause and make it successful. And let me just remind you of the cataclysmic fail that the social justice warrior attempt to power grab in the atheist community ended up as.
Are you active on the Atheism Plus forum?
I'm not. No, in fact, I have no account there and have never posted there. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I think we've gone full Macintosh.
And yeah, it's true that Carrier does have some support from the Moron Brigade.
But here's what I do know. Richard Carrier is one of the greatest minds in this movement.
And of course he was very profound in his musing in the completely fairly titled article, Michael Shermer, Rapist or Sleaze? Unless box checked for other. where he muses that because I believe the preponderance of evidence is sufficient to conclude that Sherma probably has crossed moral lines. I've seen enough evidence to establish in my own mind at least a 50.1% chance that Sherma has not only cheated or fooled around, that he has left a wake of victimized women in his path, that he has not conducted himself morally, and therefore he is probably not good or safe company, especially for women. Just so we're clear of the caliber of this righteous man judging others here, let's see how he treated his wife. So Carrier says about himself, I only take home about $15,000 a year. I could barely live on that with an extreme starving artist frugality. But I live with an awesome woman who earns considerably more than me, so I'm not living like a starving artist. I gladly operate as her domesticated manservant to earn my keep at home, in addition to my cash income paying our mortgage. And, of course, naturally, with such a great wife, you would expect that he treats her well. Nah, Dick Carrier was polyamorous. He just didn't bother to tell his wife about it. Yeah, Dick Carrier was polyamorous multiple times behind his wife's back, as he says in his own blog. Damn straight, social justice warriors, it's not cheating on your wife if you say you're polyamorous, and if she doesn't respect that, then she's a bigot. Now I wonder why he's divorced. Naturally, this means that he's free to become a horndog womanizer on the conference circuit. To become polyamorous on the conference circuit. Yes, that's right, social justice warriors. When you're pointing the finger, they're misogynist horndog womanizers, which makes it either rape or sleaze. But if you're doing it, you're just being polyamorous.
Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I think we've gone full Macintosh.
And sure, the name Carrier has got nothing to do with STDs, you bloody toad. Now, let's just treat Carrier like he treats others. Here we go. Title: Richard Carrier, rapist or sleaze? Unless box checked for other. Because I believe the preponderance of evidence is sufficient to conclude that Carrier has crossed moral lines. I have seen enough evidence to establish in my own mind at least a 100% chance that Carrier has not only cheated or fooled around, but has left a wake of victimized women in his path, and that he has not conducted himself morally, and is probably not good or safe company, especially for women. Which brings us on to Carrier's latest faceplant. Because asking a single woman out at a conference, especially if it's done in an elevator, is an act of supreme misogyny, which would class as harassment. Well, how better to solve this than announcing to everyone that you want totally not creepy sex with them?
Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I think we've gone full Macintosh.
So I'm just gonna do it and see what happens, and document and assess. If you know anyone who might have an interest in dating me, let them know. If you might have an interest, read on. I'll start by making sure anyone considering this is up to speed. I am polyamorous. I currently have many girlfriends.
But here's what I do know. Richard Carrier is one of the greatest minds in this movement.
I'm 0.5 on the Kinsey scale. Not heavy into kink, but get along well with people who are. I have an unusual fetish or two, but don't expect any of my partners to share them. I'm pro-sex worker, and though I personally find strip clubs and brothels uninteresting at best, uncomfortable at worst, I like partners who are or who have been sex workers.
I mean, damn, Carrier has reached up for Ted Haggard levels of hypocrisy. That was the Christian preacher which in between sessions with a gay prostitute preached about the evils of homosexuality. Come on, I mean, I thought my social skills were a little rough around the edges, a little coarse, but expecting to be taken seriously as a scholarly academic of the intellectual artillery caliber, while putting out a blog post like this.
I also like women who have or pursue a lot of partners, or who love to boast of their sexual exploits, especially over wine or whiskey or equivalent. I'm not going to get all butthurt or angsty over how high your number is. It very much has the opposite effect on me.
exhibits a lack of social awareness that would make the poop-flinging monkeys blush. And yet this is exactly the guy who wants the no douchebags policy at conferences. And after that you pretend that you're not desperately trying to get laid.
I'm also planning to have a hotel room, and am comfortable sharing it platonically. Certainly I would enjoy sharing it non-platonically, but I don't expect it. I can't believe, even though I know, there are still guys who assume the other shit buys them sex. I like partners who are, or who have been, sex workers.
Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I think we've gone full Macintosh.
I mean, that's pathetic, even for a social justice warrior.
Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I think we've gone full Macintosh. Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I think we've gone